Hi guys, Tony Spera here again. I noticed on the other videos that I've done, it seems like I smack my lips or something after I say something, which is very annoying to me when I watched it back. So I'm going to try not to smack my lips, make a lot of noise with my mouth. It's hard. It's hard when you're alone in a place like this and it's quiet and you could just feel your mouth getting dry. But I have a Diet Pepsi here, so maybe that'll help. But I apologize if I sound if I annoy anybody with the smacking of the throat or the mouth lips. I'll try not to do it so much. I also notice that when I play it back, sometimes I sound like Robert De Niro, which I guess isn't that bad of a thing to sound like a famous actor. Which brings me to the Conjuring movies and the Nun and the Annabelle movies. You know, it was a great, great thing that happened to Lorraine at the latter part of her career when the producers contacted Lorraine and said, hey, you know, we have a treatment for a movie on one of your cases that you did a long, long time ago, back in the 70s. And Lorraine asked what it was, and they said, it's that Bewitched Farmhouse. And Lorraine said, oh, you mean the Perrin case? And they said, yeah, the farmhouse in Harrisville, Rhode Island. The actual story behind that, ladies and gentlemen, is fascinating. And Ed Warren played a tape of an interview with Carolyn Perrin to a producer, a guy who was involved in the movies back in the 80s, 70s, I think in the 80s. But the case was from 1973 with Ed and Lorraine when they went there. But he had a cassette tape. He said, I'm going to play this back for you. And he played the interview of Carolyn Perrin and Ed talking about what happened in that house in Rhode Island. And after Ed stopped the cassette deck, which was like this is kind of cassette deck that Ed used to use, like one of these. That's all they had back then, in the 70s and 80s. After he stopped the tape, he said, boy, if we can't make a movie out of that, I don't know what we can. And this man must have took it and kept it in him and thought about it. Because it wasn't until 2009 that Lorraine got that phone call. And they wanted to do it. They wanted to do the treatment of the Bewitched Farmhouse. Ed used to call it the Bewitched Farmhouse. The woman was a model, Carolyn Perrin, originally, I believe, from New York. Her husband was, I believe, a truck driver. And 5 children in the house. And they did go through a lot of stuff. I don't know all the details, but I know some of the details with Carolyn herself. She endured a lot of stuff. One thing that happened, this is all stuff that you won't hear about in the movies. And if you want to know more about the case, just get the book House of Darkness, House of Light by Andrea Perrin. She's all over the internet with her books and with her appearances, so it won't be hard to find Andrea Perrin, Perron. But some of the things that Carolyn experienced were, one day she was sitting, it wasn't in a movie, so this is something you never heard before maybe. She was sitting in a chair, and she had an orange that she was going to peel with a knife. And the first thing she did is she cut into the orange. And when she cut into the orange, blood seeped out of the orange, red blood. Not juice, not orange juice, it was blood, and it dripped onto her foot. And she's like, geez, what the heck is all this? Another time, she lit the fireplace to enjoy the warmth of the fire. These 2 psychic light rods came down. We call them psychic light rods. Come down from the ceiling like this and put out the fire. And all the ashes and stuff went into the room. She was out in the garden with her tomatoes and with her plants, and something pushed her, an unknown force pushed her over onto a stake and impaled her on a stake. And it hurt her, but it didn't kill her, of course, but it hurt her. She was in the closet one time, sifting through clothes, and the coat hangers somehow miraculously, or immiraculously, whatever, came off, started beating around her back. Strange sounds, noises, marks would appear on her body. And the children, too, would have these kind of encounters. And also, she would close the door with a chain lock and the door would be found open. Even though it was an old farmhouse, she knew that she had secured it very securely. Then one time she's sleeping in bed, and she awakens, and there's an old hag at the foot of her bed, a ghostly figure, and she said all she could describe it as like the head was off where it should be, hanging on the shoulder area of this old hag. And she said she can remember a phrase that she repeated, and it was, "I'll drive you out with fiery brooms, I'll drive you mad with death and gloom," over and over to Carolyn, which of course freaked her out. Freak anybody out, wouldn't it? So that was just some of the things that happened, but if you want to know more, read that book, House of Darkness, House of Light by Carolyn Perrin. It's a good book. So that was how the Conjuring movies started. They call up Lorraine. Two of the writers would call up and talk to Lorraine for a long time. Chad and Carrie Hayes, good guys. They'd call up and they'd say, "Lorraine, can you tell us about what happened?" She'd tell them, and they'd say, "What would you feel in the house?" And then they'd ask, "What's an exorcism like? What's a ghost? What's an apparition?" They'd ask all these questions, and Lorraine would answer. And then we went out to see the filming. So we went out to see the filming of The Conjuring, right? First time ever to see a movie. Now, when I got on the set with Lorraine, I felt kind of out of place because I'm not the subject of the movie. I'm really a nobody. Now I'm in Hollywood with all these big-time people with New Line Cinema, Warner Brothers, all these big shots, you know. I'm going to be rubbing elbows with Patrick Wilson, Vera Farmiga, Ron Livingston, and others. Lily Taylor. All fabulous actors, right? And who am I? I'm just a guy from Connecticut who nobody knows. So I felt kind of out of place. James Wan, the director, he had done Saw, and he did Insidious. So I walk into this video village, they call it. It's a room to the side where all the publicists, some of the assistants, directors, reporters would watch. Family of people would watch on video monitors. They call it a video village. So I walk in and I felt really out of place because they're saying, "Come on in the video village, Tone," with Lorraine. They were all friendly. They were all nice to me. Rob Cowan, people like that. Peter Safran, Walter Hamada, who's a big shot at New Line now. I think he runs DC Marvel. So I walk in and I see a director's chair. You know, they got the cloth on the back, the canvas, and it says Lorraine Warren. And the other people, James Wan, had all these people's names on it. And they said, your chair's over there, Tone. And I look over, and it had my name on it, printed just like Lorraine's. And on the other side was a logo of The Conjuring with a tree hanging. And I freaked out. I said to myself, wow, they thought enough of me to give me a chair. And they did. They gave me a chair. All the people there were great. There was a stunt coordinator there named Joel Kramer, big guy, probably about 6'4", about 240. And he was one of the most friendly guys I met there. And he was so nice to Lorraine and myself. He was like a gentle giant, you know. But he's the kind of guy you'd never want to mess with. And I learned later that he was the stunt double for Arnold Schwarzenegger in all his movies. He was built about as good as Schwarzenegger, which is saying a lot. So I looked like a midget next to him, but he was the nicest guy in the world, Joel. And I really miss talking to Joel because he was so good to us and to Lorraine. And James Ferrara, who is a publicist out there, super friendly to us. And then I got to eat in the commissary at Warner Brothers where, you know, they used to do, Johnny Carson used to make jokes about the commissary. So I went to the commissary with Lorraine and James Ferrara. I think this was for The Conjuring 2, I can't remember now. And I'll tell you what, the food is really good there. The food is good. And all the people there were just so nice. Gina Solis was very nice to us. She was a person assigned to us from Warner Brothers. And they treat us almost like we're family. So you say what you want about Hollywood and Hollywood in itself and the legend of Hollywood and how the people are phonies and everything, but they weren't phony to us. And that kind of made me feel really nice, and Lorraine feel really good about working with these folks, because little did we know that it would be such a hit. I remember saying to them, what do you think the opening weekend would be pretty good for this movie? And I remember them saying to me, well, we'd be happy if we made $18 million on the first weekend, the first day, or the first weekend, we'd be happy. And they made 43 million, I think 41 or 43 million, so they really did a great job. They made their money back and more. A lot goes into making movies, a lot. I didn't know it was that bad. I mean, that's crazy. We walked into Wilmington, Delaware studios. It was the Screen Gem Studios where they filmed Conjuring 1. When we walked in, it was just like a big giant warehouse, like 5 times the size of Costco. And the guy says to us, who brought us over, he says, well, the house is over there. I said, what do you mean a house? He goes, oh, we built a house inside here, a Victorian house to represent the parent farmhouse. And I said, are you kidding me? And they walked us over, and it was an actual Victorian house that they built from scratch, a fully working house. They had electricity, wiring, they had water in the sink and everything. I walked in, I couldn't believe it, all the furniture and everything. So, you know me, I'm a jerk. I picked up like a cup and said, no, don't touch that. That's continuity. It's got to be the same way in the next scene. So you kind of learn things. And I watched them work. I watched Vera work, and I watched Patrick Wilson work, and Ron Livingston. And one thing, Ron Livingston, it was at nighttime kind of, and we were like in this back area. He's pacing back and forth, Ron. He's studying his lines. I didn't know that's what he's doing. I found out later. But he was like the nicest. He was the guy who played Roger Perrin, the father. He was like the most sincere, humble guy you want to meet, you know. See, the thing is, they're regular people. They're not like, you see them on the screen, you think they're different. They're just regular people. He couldn't wait to get back to his family. He told us at the end of filming, he said, I got to get home. I got a 6-week-old, I think he said, child. I got to get back to my house. But he was the nicest guy in the world. He was so humble, you know. He's the guy that did Band of Brothers, Office Space, and many, many other movies. And I said to him, when I saw Office Space, I said I couldn't stop laughing. I almost had a heart attack, couldn't breathe. He just looked at me and said, it's very kind of you to say that to me. Very humble. Vera Farmiga, I was scared of her at first, that famous of a person. She's done such movies with George Clooney, Up in the Air. She did just so many movies with so many famous people. The Departed. It had Leonardo DiCaprio in it, Matt Damon, Jack Nicholson. She worked with so many famous people. And in the morning, we walked in, Lorraine and I, into the foyer area of that house. And there's all these people bustling, hustling around, camera guys, and setting up wiring and all this stuff. I see Vera walk in, very demure. She walks in. She sees me holding my little Canon camera that I had. She sees me, and I'm scared, like I don't want to say too much to her, And she says, hey, she grabs it. She grabs the camera from me. Why don't we get a picture? And she calls someone over and says, take a picture of us. And then she got close to me and, put her face up against mine like she really liked me. And we took a couple photos. And, the feeling you get from not knowing any celebrities to them treating you like you're one of them was fabulous. Patrick, most down-to-earth guy you'd ever want to meet, Patrick Wilson. He's an athlete. He's a singer. He is a dancer, an actor, of course. He could do everything. I used to watch him in this TV show. You could check it up maybe on Netflix. I think it's on now, called The Gifted Man. And he was really, really good at it. Gifted, in fact. He played a gifted doctor, and it was fabulous, fabulous. And so everyone there treated us like gold. On The Conjuring 2, same thing. You get the same kind of feeling when they were filming. That same warm feeling. Oh, James Wan would come in, hug me. Hey, Tone, how are you? Now, James Wan, at that time, was probably worth $50 million. Rubbed elbows with all the big directors, all the big hotshots in Hollywood. And he comes up to me, and hugs me and, hey, how you doing? Hey, good to see you. Did you sleep okay? That kind of thing. That's how these guys are. And so they may have a lot of money. That's what's the only thing that separates them from the average person is they make a lot of money. But so what? I think they earn it because we got on the set one morning at 10 o'clock, Lorraine and I, and Patrick and Vera were already there studying their lines. We left at about 7 o'clock p.m. and they were there till 10, 11 o'clock that night. I know they get paid a lot, and it's a lot for even for the hours that they work, but they're dedicated to that work. They want to make it perfect. I remember Patrick at one point said, okay, guys, let's make movie magic. He meant it. Let's make movie magic. And it was just before the scene where Patrick and Ron Livingston are holding Carolyn Perrin, which is Lily Taylor, and trying to get her out of the house. And then she gets thrown back at the doorway on Conjuring 1, gets thrown back by an invisible force, thrown backwards, and then she's dragged. That's the scene they just filmed. They were just ready to film, and he said, let's do movie magic. So that was super, super exciting. Oh, and then he put us up at a nice hotel. Now, you know, people may think I'm a celebrity. I'm not really. Lorraine was, Ed was, not me. Not Judy, my wife. But they said, okay, we're going to put you up at a hotel. I says, all right. So I'm figuring like Holiday Inn. I'm figuring, okay, they're going to put us up at Holiday Inn. It'll be all right. Beverly Hilton. The Beverly Hilton. It's a first-class hotel. It's a 5-star. Frank Sinatra stayed there. Marilyn Monroe stayed there. In fact, Esther Williams, the famous swimming movie star from the 40s, swam in that pool. They hold the Golden Globe Awards in one of the ballrooms there. First class all the way. We looked out on the balcony, and we could see the pool that Esther Williams swam in. That kind of stuff, you know, guys, is surreal to me. It's like, you know, you read about these people, you read about these things, and then to see it and experience it and be there is such a thrill, especially to Judy and me because we weren't used to it. All of our meals were paid for by Warner Brothers. The hotel was paid for by Warner Brothers. Everything. Took us out to dinner. Treated us like we were celebrities, you know, like we were gold. It wasn't us. It was Lorraine. Then we went out to see Annabelle Comes Home. The filming of Annabelle Comes Home. We walk on the set. There's Patrick Wilson. There's Vera Farmiga. There's Kenna Grace, the young girl that played Judy. There's the young boy that played me, Anthony. And then there's Michael, I think it's Michael Cimino. He played, was it Tommy? I can't remember his name now, but the one, he said he had balls. He has balls. That was in Annabelle Comes Home. He was there. They're all so friendly, all so nice. And the two girls that played Kathy Sarife, and another one, Madison, I believe, they were fabulous people. And then we watched the filming, and then we had like a day off, I think. Then there was the premiere. We get out of the chauffeur limousine. Let me just take a quick thing of Diet Coke here. Diet Pepsi. Oh, before I continue on, I just want to say something. It's kind of weird. You know how many comments I got on people who corrected Lorraine when on the show she said Jimmy Page is the drummer? Do you know how many people laughed at that and said, oh, wow, he's a guitarist, not a drummer? You know, guys, I want you to know something. Lorraine was born in 1927. We're lucky she even knew Jimmy Page's name. You know, do you guys know who Frankie Lane is? Do you guys know who Louis Prima is? I bet you don't. You have to go look it up. That's just two people out of millions that Lorraine knew and knew of and sang songs to. You know the song Always, Sunday, Monday, and Always? You know that song? Sunday, Monday, Always. Famous song. Bet you don't know who sang it. And I bet you don't even know the guy whose name who sang it. Bing Crosby. You'd probably have to look him up. So everything's relative, you know? Because Lorraine doesn't know that Jimmy Page was a guitarist. Big deal. It's surprising that she even knew who he was at all. That she can even mention his name. So that's what I mean about the hypercritical stuff that I can't stand. But getting back to Annabelle Comes Home, then they had the premiere that night. We get out of the limo, and they're screaming Judy's name. Now, Judy is more shy than anybody. She's very bashful when it comes to publicity. She's the opposite of Lorraine. Lorraine loved the camera. She loved publicity, loved speaking to people. But Judy was is a little bit more reserved. Not me. I like people coming at me with celebrity. Like, hey, how are you, Tone? I kind of like that. So I get out of the limo. Judy gets out of the limo, and they're screaming for Judy. Can you sign this for us, Judy? And she didn't know what to do. I said, gee, just sign it for him with the magic marker. Just sign the picture, and it's a picture of Judy, or a picture of Judy and me, or a picture of Annabelle, you know. So we did all that on a big long line of people screaming at us. And then we went in to see the premiere, and it was fabulous to watch it for the first time, to see it. And there was one thing I caught in there that, like I said, I think in another video, that nobody caught. And to me, it's synchronicity. It's this more than coincidence to me. And anybody who knows me knows that I'm a big Elvis and that's Elvis Presley, by the way, not Costello. Elvis Presley, you know. He only sold about, 4 billion records. And the Beach Boys. Now, the Beach Boys I grew up with because as an Italian kid from the East Coast, the West Coast was like a dream place to me. Like I said before, my father was kind of a tyrant, strict. And how do you break out of something like that? How do you fantasize about other things? Well, the first time I heard that record, Surfin' Safari, I went nuts. And the other side was 409. And I was a big car guy even at 12 and 13 years old. I loved cars. So did my brother. So, the Beach Boys. I must have seen them 50 times in concert. I have every single album that they ever did. And, in fact, I was able to touch Mike Love's hand the last time on stage. He doesn't know who I am, though. None of them do. But the thing is, in that movie, Annabelle Comes Home, they had a bunch of vinyl records sitting on a table, all covered up, except for a little, they were fanned out just a little bit, and I think they were on the camera for maybe a tenth of a second. And guess what one of the albums was? It was Endless Summer by the Beach Boys. And they didn't know I liked the Beach Boys. Why are the Beach Boys in there? It doesn't make any sense. Of all the albums, and this was supposed to be 1969, and Endless Summer or 70s. Endless Summer was probably out of vogue by then, that album. And then Vera Farmiga had a Bates Motel TV show, and she didn't know I liked the Beach Boys either. One of the songs that was playing in one of the episodes, Wouldn't It Be Nice, by the Beach Boys. Another movie that she was in, I pick up on this stuff, nobody else does, but another movie she was in was with, I think it was A Commuter. It was A Commuter with Liam Neeson. And right at the beginning of the movie, he wakes up from his bedroom and Don't Worry Baby by the Beach Boys is playing on the radio. Why? Why did they pick those songs, It was kind of crazy. But getting back, to me, that's synchronicity. It's something that's beyond coincidence. It means something. Then in the movie Annabelle Comes Home, there was a box, and I'm going to show you the box sometime. I got it home. It's the religious box that we carry with us on cases. It's a wooden box that Ed had with a cross on the front. And inside, there's deliverance prayers, there's blessed holy water, there's blessed incense, pontifical incense, rosary beads, and another cross. That was in the movie, that box, where I think it was Patrick Wilson reached for it. That same kind of box, and I never told anybody about the box. That box is not on a TV show. It wasn't focused on, shown on anything, on any TV show. So why did they pick that box with a cross on top of it? I'm going to show you that box sometime. I forgot to bring it today. It's mind-boggling. Now, I want you guys to watch Annabelle Comes Home at some point. And if you could freeze frame it when that box shows up, you'll see what I mean. And we commented on it in the movie at the premiere when we watched it. We were like, look at that. I said, look at that, Jude. She said, yeah, the box. How'd they know about it? I said, I don't know. Now, the movies Annabelle and Annabelle Creation, we didn't have anything to do with at all. In fact, we didn't have anything to do with Annabelle Comes Home, really, but they did call us up and give us the premise of what the movie was going to be about. They said we want to make it kind of realistic. They did. The beginning was real, where Ed picked up the doll from the two nurses in Hartford. He picked up the doll with Lorraine and brought it back to the museum for safekeeping. That's true. That's very true. But Annabelle and Annabelle Creation, I'm sorry to say, weren't authentic. They never contacted Lorraine or myself or Judy about those movies. They just went off on another direction with them totally. And The Nun also. The Nun we weren't contacted about at all. But, you know, that's Hollywood for you. They know more than I think they know. You know what I mean? They know what makes a good movie. Sure, they took dramatic license, but they made it an entertaining movie. It's not a documentary. And I kind of remind people of that when they say, hey, you know, Lorraine didn't speak for 8 days. What was that? What was the case about? There was no case where Lorraine didn't speak for 8 days when she came out of her room and she wouldn't talk. But, and this is another thing that's synchronicity. Now, she never told this to anyone, except I know, Ed knows, Judy knows. When Lorraine's dad passed away in 1968, Lorraine stopped talking. When he passed away on February 18th of 1968, Lorraine ceased talking. And she was already married to Ed. Judy was already a teenager. For 9 months, she wouldn't talk. She was just closed up. This is reality. This is real. And I knew that before the movie ever started, or was ever filmed, Conjuring. But in that movie, Patrick Wilson says that. He says that. Another thing that the movie said, because they didn't ask us, see, is when Ed says, I don't believe in vampires. Well, he does. Ed believed in vampires. He believed in human vampires. And he believed in the kind of vampire that could psychically leave its body, like a high spiritual person who's knowledgeable enough could leave his body and enter and leave his body and go into some other body attached by the silver cord. That's a whole other story, lycanthropy. But when Patrick Wilson says, I don't believe in vampires, that's not true. Ed believed in vampires. There's things that they got wrong. But it's a movie, remember. It's an entertainment piece. Not meant to be a documentary, not meant to be 100% accurate. It's a piece that they put together themselves. When Lorraine signed her life story rights over, and I remember Ed was already passed, when she signed those life story rights over, they had complete control in the contract to write anything they wanted to write, as long as it wasn't derogatory about Ed and Lorraine. And why would they make something derogatory about Ed and Lorraine anyway? They're making movies about Ed and Lorraine, their cases. You know, and it's funny when people say, oh, they've been on hundreds of cases. Well, Ed has been on thousands and thousands, and Lorraine. They can only estimate how many cases there's been, but it's in the thousands. Ed was like a sponge. He was like a sponge when it came to the paranormal realm. I used to come over the house. On any day I come over the house, he'd be reading a book on the paranormal. And he would be so focused on learning and learning and learning that he could, all that he could on the paranormal realm. That's what made him so great. Lorraine, with her psychic ability, boy, she could see the aura around every person. And she could tell by those colors about you. And she'd look at me, she could tell about me, she could tell about anybody by the colors of the aura, the brightness of the aura, the brilliance of the aura. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is a quick overview of some of the movies and what it was like going to those movies. I hope you enjoyed this video. I just got to say that I'm going to try to continue on with the videos as best I can. I'm going to get a better microphone, trust me. It's on the way. I ordered it through Amazon. It should be here Monday or Tuesday. But for now, I'm using the camera's mic. And I'm not a good editor, so I don't know how to edit things. I don't even know how to put writing over the videos, but I can learn that stuff. But the live stream is going to be coming up soon, me and Dan Rivera. Dan's very, very knowledgeable in Santeria because his family grew up that way. He's a Puerto Rican man, and his mother and aunt, and I believe his aunt more so, was involved in Santeria. He knows all about it. He may talk a little bit about that on the live stream if you ask him. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to end the video. I'm kind of hungry too, boy. This morning I had a little omelet that I made and a bagel with some butter on it. But I didn't eat any lunch today, and it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon right now here in Connecticut. And I'm going to eat lunch, but if I do out, it's going to have to be outside because we have not opened up yet due to the coronavirus for inside dining. So I have to be out in a parking lot somewhere with a canopy over us. But so what? So what? But I like to cook, like I talked before. I almost want to have a cooking channel too. Italian food, homemade, real Italian food. And I'm not going to brag, but I can make pretty good Italian food. A lot of people can. But I learned from my mom, and my mom was good. But I got to tell you a quick story about my mom cooking. You're not going to believe it. She was full Italian. Her parents couldn't hardly speak English. My father, all Italian. His parents could hardly speak English. But my mother, when she got married to my dad, and I remember she was a great cook when I was growing up. When she got married to my dad, December 3rd, 1945, she tried to cook him an Italian spaghetti dinner. And it's kind of funny because you're not going to believe me. I know you're not going to believe when I tell you how she made it. She took Campbell's tomato soup, opened it up, heated it up. Then she took spaghetti out of the box, like Ronzoni or Prince or something, put it on a plate. And then she poured the hot soup over the brittle, uncooked spaghetti, thinking that's how you make spaghetti. Right hand to God. And my father would tell that story, and my mother would laugh. She says, yeah, you know, he's right. He taught me how to cook. So my dad taught my mother how to cook, and she was fabulous. And so my dad was fabulous too. She made homemade raviolis from scratch, homemade manigotte from scratch, eggplant parmesan, you name it, from scratch. But we also had regular food too, you know, roast beef and things like that, and steak and all that stuff too. And in the morning, sometimes when I'd go to school, I always wondered why I had a lot of gas in school. When I was a kid growing up, she used to make me oatmeal with raisins all the time. You know, it took 20 minutes to make the old oatmeal, not the instant. And then there's other times though she'd make me these peach halves, cling peaches in a can, and then she would put brown sugar on top, the light brown sugar, and then put it in the oven. She'd make all kinds of big breakfasts for my brother and me. So I guess in that regard, I was pretty darn lucky, you know. So look, ladies and gentlemen, I know I've been taking a lot of your time, but I'm happy that you like the videos. I'm trying to be as truthful as I can on everything I tell you. I try not to make up anything, because why make up stories? Why make up things that aren't true? I try to give it to you straight, if I can, you know. And hopefully it's stuff that you can learn from. Someone asked me if I could do a course. Well, I think this is going to be the course. All these YouTube videos, the Secrets of the Supernatural shows, all that in combination, you'll hopefully learn a lot about the paranormal realm and how to investigate the paranormal realm. And some of my other videos that I'll do in the future too will talk more about how to be an investigator, how to be a real good investigator. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much, and have a great weekend. Keep that social distancing as much as you can. Stay safe. Wear your mask. That's all going to end soon, I hope, where we'll be getting back to some form of normality, you know. Boy, I'm waiting for normality to happen in this country. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and please stay safe.